When it comes to Tyler the Creator's new album Chromakopia, I'm going to be completely honest and say I think it's the best album I've heard all year for a whole matter of reasons. Firstly, I really enjoy the fact that this is the most vulnerable we've heard Tyler being since Flower Boy possibly, and I love that at the start of this album it's very braggadocious, but as we dive deeper into the album, song after song, we see that vulnerable side to begin to somewhat open up, and the vulnerable story that we get from this album begins to shine all the way up until the album's end. I love that, like majority of Tyler's albums, this is about love, but unlike a few of his previous projects, this is not about a love triangle. The main theme of this album is Tyler the Creator trying not to have children. That is the dilemma of this project, and we see that he just wants to enjoy the lifestyle that he currently has, and he feels a child would ruin it, especially when he's in early days relationships with said people, and he feels that when this type of idea pops up, it somewhat makes him feel trapped or forced to commit to this person when he is a very non-monogamous person, as he talks about quite frequently. One of the biggest things that I love about this album is the production. I think it is a massive step up from his previous projects. Not only has he dominated and just made the rap tracks better, I think each rap track he makes is perfection, but we see him diving into other genres as well, which isn't something new from Tyler, but I think he does it even better than his previous attempts. What I also love is, regardless of what track it is, he is able to make the track really feel alive and evolve as it progresses throughout. We hear the instrumentation becoming bigger, and it honestly just sounds so different from what we are currently getting in the hip-hop state, where these tracks, Sticky for example, is constantly evolving and sounding alive. You don't really get that in much hip-hop beats. Another thing that I truly love about this album is Tyler the Creator's pen game. We're getting stories, whether it's being about his personal love life, whether it's just love songs, whether it is about just his general life, whether it being from an insecure place, or whether it's a braggadocious type of style. Not only are we getting a lot of personal stories, but we're also just getting stories in general, whether it is based on real people or it's just fictitious. Either way, I just really enjoy the fact that Tyler the Creator's pen game is still top tier. Tyler's singing is another great thing on this album. He's definitely sounding more polished than comparing it to a few previous projects. For example, Eagle, which I will say he sounded very rusty, so to get this type of performance is amazing. Not only is he an amazing part of this album, but he has great features, whether that being Daniel Caesar with the singing, which I think he did amazingly well, whether it being harmonies or just background singing. Or we have Sexy Red with her short but quite hooking rap feature on certain track. I think he used all these features so amazingly well, like a conductor of some sort. Something small but I truly did love is the transitions we get on this album. They are heavenly to me, as the way they so seamlessly go from one track to another that you don't even notice that you are moving on to another track. It's just beautiful in my eyes. And then lastly, I really enjoyed how he used his mother as a narrator for this album, as like his previous albums, she is his biggest cheerleader, but also to make her stand out from this narrative that he has used before, she's giving insightful advice, whether it being on tracks such as Darling I, Hey Jane, or Take Your Mask Off. Really enjoyed that. That's not to say this album is perfect. I do have a few issues with it. The first criticism I would say is that we see Tyler exploring similar themes. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't have any issue with an artist going back and exploring a theme that he may have explored a few albums ago or an album ago, and Tyler does evolve on that, which I really did enjoy. But there are times where Tyler isn't really evolving what he's already talked about, he's just updating it a little bit, which I think is a bit of a disappointment, as I would love to see him talk about the particular subject matter and go deeper into it, as he was able to with some subjects, but with others he just mentioned it and moved on. My second criticism is about his instrumentals. Well, I do love them, and I know Tyler is a big instrumentational head. He loves to make beats and he's all about chords. and to a certain extent I really do love that about him. But he does let his instrumentations go on for what I consider a bit too long, to the point that I'm kind of just waiting for it to wrap up. It's getting to a point where it's a bit annoying. Now, luckily, it's only a few tracks that I personally have that feel towards, but other than that, majority of tracks know when to end. Now I'm going to go over the track list and just give my individual thoughts about each and every song on the album. Starting with Chroma, the opening track, which I really enjoyed. I love the harmonies we get in the background from Daniel Caesar. The transition to the beat on the second was great, and I thoroughly enjoyed Tyler rapping. My only critique is we spend such little time with that second beat, but I guess that's the beauty and annoyance of leaving your audience wanting more. The second track, Rat-Ta-Ta, was a very energised sounding hip hop track which has a great braggadocious feel from Tyler and his pen game. I just loved the short but sweet hook he gives us, and I loved his energy in his last verse when talking about purchasing. I also enjoyed its transition into track 3. Noid is one of the tracks I'm not too big a fan of. While I respect the theme of paranoia Tyler explores, it's the song structure I don't enjoy, as it feels very chorus heavy, and the verses we get, they sound very out of place and too long apart for me. Now, track 4 to me was a beautiful love song in a very non-monogamy style. I really enjoyed what Tyler is talking about. Now, I will say the song is quite chorus heavy, but unlike Noid, I really do enjoy the chorus of this song, so I haven't really got an issue with it. The verse we get on this album is great, and it starts to peel the layers of the vulnerable side of Tyler that we begin to see in this album. That moves on to track 5, that being Hey Jane, which I really do love from a lyrical standpoint, as we're seeing Tyler and his girl from both of their points of view on reacting to finding out or revealing their pregnancy to one another and the whole ordeal. And we see that even though Tyler openly admitting that he doesn't want to be in this situation, he'll do anything to get out of it. At the end of the day, he'll do his best for her and that child, which I really respect. And then we have, from the woman's point of view, from Jane, just saying how she doesn't really want to ruin this relationship, but at the same time, this is probably her last opportunity to have a child, and if that's the case, she wants to take it. And I really love that Tyler isn't trying to make himself look like the good guy and the other person looking like a bad person. We're hearing it from both point of views, and you kind of respect their perspectives. I really do love the writing on this story. It's brilliant. It's not really a critique, but I would say the instrumental is not that extravagant, but then I completely understand why. It's the words that we're hearing are supposed to be the ones that you focus on. The instrumental isn't supposed to be this big thing that we've been getting so far. After that, we move on to the track I Killed You, which I really do love. I will say the opening instrumental is my favourite part, not to say that other instrumentals are bad, I just really love that part of it. The song I initially interpreted as Tyler being with a particular woman, but he doesn't want to be seen with her, only to realise he's talking about his hairline, and you can see there's somewhat similarities in the beginning part of the song, only to then really you can understand. And it's interesting how he's talking about how at first he doesn't like to be seen with his hair, he does so many things to try and fix it, only to do more damage to it until he actually needs to get surgery to get it fixed. And now he's okay with being seen. His insecurities for his hair are no longer there. My favourite part of this track is the singing part from Tyler at the very end. I don't know why, I just really loved it. And then after that track, we move on to Judge Judy, which to me, off the bat, sounds like a very 60s, 70s type of pop rock song. Very much like the Kinks' Lola, especially when it comes to the hook. I love the instrumentation. Again, I think Tyler's singing is on point. He executes it very well. What really surprised me is when going for my second listen, the third verse took me by surprise. So I didn't realise its dark nature until that second listen. And it's quite sad to hear Tyler supposedly reading this letter from a partner he really got on with, only to read that they're dead and somewhat to move on. And it's interesting the way you interpret it, as some had say she died of like brain disease, but I somewhat interpret it as suicide, as she was having a rough year, it all got to her head. Again, it's up to the listener how you interpret that part. But honestly, I thought it was a really great track. And then we move on to what is my honest to God favourite braggadocious rap song, that being Sticky. From an instrumental point of view, it's so great, just the way it evolves. I just love it. And each artist is being utilised so well, but in such a short period as well. Even Lil Wayne, who is known for doing these long ass verses, has been given like 4 bars, which I'm still at odds with, but the instrumental is ever evolving. The braggadocious side from Tyler is amazing to hear. Sexy Red and Glorilla do especially well on this project, and I think Tyler utilises his features like instruments. Less is more to an extent. After this we move on to Take Your Mask Off, which has a great combination of Tyler singing and Tyler rapping, something that's very beautiful on this track. Not only that, the instrumentation and the harmonies we get from the features as well do amazing. Now, what I like about this song is Tyler somewhat in story mode with his lyrics. We're getting a lot of perspectives from other people, whether they're fictitious or not is up for debate, and it's just these people who are hiding their true selves for the respect of others, and Tyler saying take the mask off, be your true self, only to flip it and he is being his 100% honest about his insecurities and struggles about himself in this 4th verse, which reminds me heavily of 911 Mr. Lonely, the 3rd verse from that, and the 1st verse off of What a Day. But I love how he dives so deep and shows a lot of vulnerability from his point of view. I think he executed this song tremendously well. After this we move on to Tomorrow, which I will be honest, I have mixed feelings on. From an instrumentation and hook perspective, I love it, it's beautiful. But when it comes to the verse we get, we're not really getting anything new from Tyler. He is talking about subjects that we've already heard, and like I said on the previous song, he is doing the same, but he was diving deeper into those subjects, something that we didn't really hear. It was mixes, but he was definitely diving way deeper into his insecurities. Whilst on this, it just feels like a slightly updated version of the 2nd verse off of Potholes, which I've got no issue with, I just wish he'd dive deeper in. And not only that, I feel like the instrumentation goes on a little bit too long to wrap it up. Afterwards though is Thought I Was Dead, which has a great energy towards it. It's also nice to see Schoolboy Q and Tyler collab again since the Brown Stains of Dark East Latifah Part 6 to 12 remix. Honestly, both brought amazing energy and raps to the song, and I love the hook. While it is simple, mix it with some horns and drums and it creates a fast-paced energy which Tyler has now perfected. We move on to Like Him, which is personally my favourite song on the album because it is this power ballad about Tyler just asking if he resembles what his dad looks like. And honestly, I love the hook so much. I'm going to be honest, it made me cry a few times. That's how beautiful this hook was, and I think everyone, especially Lola Young, had a great hand to play the piano chords, the drums, etc. Honestly, such a great track. My only 2 critiques of this song are, it's not long enough. I love that hook to the point that I want to sing it for 8 minutes. Like, he did it with Sweet, I Thought You Wanted to Dance. I wanted this to be that song, but fair enough. But my second critique is when Baby Keem says, huh, I don't quite understand why it's on there. It takes you out of the moment, first of all, and it feels so unnecessary after the 2nd or 3rd listen. I don't quite understand what Tyler was thinking, but okay. After that, we move on to Balloons. Now, I do like this track. We will get on to what I love, but I do feel it's a very odd placement as we get such a deep track, such as Like Him, and then to move on to this, which has quite a cartoony beat until Tyler really starts to rap on it, and then Doshi does an amazing thing on it. Honestly, the 2 did an amazing job. I especially loved the Don't Stop sample they used. I don't know where that's from, but I loved it. My only issue is its placement on the album track list. That's it. But then lastly, we wrap the album up with I Hope You Find Your Way Home, which I think is a really beautiful song. Starts off quite slow, but it's another great Tyler rapping song, and he's somewhat removing the braggadocious bravado with his rapping. There's a little bit of elements there, but we get to hear what is going on in his current lifestyle. I really enjoyed it. I really like hearing it. Now I will say I wish there was more rapping. The instrumentation does go on a little bit too long, but I do like that it wraps it up in somewhat in an Ouroboros feel. At least that's how I feel about it. Now, overall, I think this album was great. It feels new and old at the same time, with Tyler exploring some of those older themes, but diving deeper into them. But at the same time, he is just updating us on those themes and not really diving deeper or evaluating them, which I have no real issue with. I think Tyler as an artist is definitely getting better, not only with his production but his singing as well, and he knows how to use artists very well. I can't wait to see what more he is going to do in the future, but for now, is this good? No, it's fantastic. Rating wise, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Now when it comes to would I re-listen to it, the answer is of course I'm re-listening to this album. Ever since it came out, that's all I've been listening to, and I think that's going to be the same for quite some time. Now when it comes to recommendations, his discography I think is amazing. He's definitely one of the best 2010s artists. I put him up there with Kendrick, like he said himself.
Biggest out the city after Kenny, that's a fact now.
With one of those great discographies. Now my personal 3 favourite albums of his are, in no particular order, Wolf, Call Me If You Get Lost and Flower Boy. Now I know people are probably going to critique, why not Igor? I think Igor, from an instrumentation point of view, is okay, but that's it. It's not a personal favourite of mine. Now, there are quite a few Tyler tracks which I really enjoy, but I don't think get enough talk or love. So that's what I'm here to do. First one I would talk about is What the Fuck Right Now. It is a track with him and A$AP Rocky. He released it somewhat in the transitioning period from Cherry Bomb to Flower Boy, so there's a bit of edginess to it and great energy, but we're somewhat seeing Tyler slowly move into that Flower Boy transition. Honestly, it's a beautiful song. The next is 327 by Westside Gunn. Him, Joey Badass and Tyler the Creator all on there, and when I first heard this I was no way, shape or form a Tyler fan. I was still in that annoying stan energy with like hating on Tyler because of the things he said towards Eminem, but when I heard this track I couldn't even lie to myself and say, oh yeah, Tyler wasn't the best on that. Tyler was the best on that track. I don't give a shit what people say. Even back then, that was the seed that got me into Tyler the Creator's discography a year later. Now lastly, 3 artists who work especially well with Tyler are A$AP Rocky, Earl Sweatshirt and Lil Wayne. I would love to see them collab more. Him and Earl Sweatshirt, usually the subject matter is quite dark, especially with songs like Ass Milk and Whoa. Those are my 2 personal favourites. Yes, the subject matter is very dark, but the rapport they have is amazing. The same can go with A$AP Rocky, whether it be Who That Boy all the way up to Wolf Talk. Again, great rapport. And Lil Wayne, again, whilst his rapport with Tyler on here isn't as big as it was when he was doing Hot Wind Blows or on Smuckers or on Dropping Seeds, I still think the 2 have great energy and I would love to see them collab more. Those are my recommendations. This has been my review for Tyler the Creator's Chromakopia. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and most importantly, thank you and have a nice day.